I'm 76 years old, and 2 years ago I learned something that I still can't get over. I was in the hospital, I was 74, and a young doctor said one sentence to me, just one sentence, and it changed everything I thought I knew about my body, about my illnesses, and about why my husband died. But I'll tell you that sentence later. First, I want you to understand how I was living before that, because I think you're probably living the same way right now and you just don't see it. I didn't see it either. My husband Robert died at 69, a stroke, right there in our kitchen on a Tuesday morning, with a cup of tea still in his hand. We'd been married 46 years. I remember every morning at that table. Robert always drank his tea the same way. 3 spoons of sugar, stirring slowly, the spoon clinking against the rim. That quiet little sound, every morning for 46 years. And that last morning the cup slipped out of his hands and broke on the floor, and I think that's the sound I'll hear for the rest of my life. The doctors said stroke, blood pressure, cholesterol, age, these things happen. My daughter Catherine said, "Mum, Dad just got unlucky." My friend Margaret said, "Dorothy, it comes for all of us." And I nodded and cried and told myself it was fate, just bad luck, the way life goes. 3 spoons of sugar every day for 46 years, but I wasn't thinking about that. Not then. After Robert, I was alone. And you know what I did every morning? Same thing. Tea, 3 spoons of sugar. Like if I kept drinking it the way we always drank it together, he was still a little bit here with me. That's a silly thing, I know. But grief is like that. You hold on to the habits because the habits are all that's left of the person. I was maybe 68 when things got bad. Actually, no, things were bad before that. I just didn't think of them as bad. I thought that's what life was supposed to feel like. I was hungry all the time. Not the kind of hungry where you have nothing to eat. Kind where you can't stop. I'd finished lunch and an hour later, I wanted more. I figured that was just my body. Some people don't eat much. I wasn't one of them. I was tired in a way that felt like somebody pulling the plug on me every afternoon. After lunch, my eyes would close, my head would go heavy. I'd lie down for 5 minutes and wake up an hour and a half later. I told myself, that's what happens past 60. Everybody naps. Normal. I was mean. Not mean exactly, but snappy. I'd yell at my granddaughter Emily for laughing too loud, at Catherine for not calling, at the neighbour for being too cheerful in the morning. Then at night, I couldn't sleep. I'd lie there going over conversations from a week ago, turning them around and around. I just thought it was my personality. Just nerves. My knees. Every morning, the first 10 minutes, I walked like I was made of wood. Everything stiff, everything aching. The stairs were murder. I bought painkillers by the box. Arthritis, what are you going to do? Margaret had the same thing. Everybody had the same thing. And my belly, big, round. Robert used to joke, "Dorothy, you hiding a fourth kid in there?" I'd wave him off. After 3 children, after menopause, who doesn't have a belly? Robert had one. All our friends had one. It was so normal, it never once crossed my mind to ask why. So that's how I got to 74. Hungry, tired, snappy, bad knees, big belly. And totally sure it was just old age and that's that. Then I ended up in the hospital. Bad blood work. Catherine made me go for a full checkup. And there was this young doctor sitting across from me, going through my papers. He had this look on his face. Not worried, just tired. Like a man who says the same thing every single day and knows nobody's going to listen. He said, "Dorothy, you have type 2 diabetes. Your kidneys are borderline. Your liver is fatty. And I need you to do one thing. Stop eating sugar. All of it. Completely. That was the sentence. I sat there looking at him, and I wasn't thinking about myself. I was thinking about Robert. His belly, his blood pressure, his tea, 3 spoons, every morning. The fact that nobody told him. Or maybe somebody did tell him and we didn't listen. Because who wants to hear that your cup of tea is poison? That the little treat after lunch is actually destroying you, slowly, from the inside? Nobody wants to hear that. I didn't. Robert didn't. We just lived the way everyone around us lived. 3 spoons of sugar, every day. I asked the doctor to explain it to me like I'm a grandmother, because that's what I am. And he did. He said every time you eat something sweet, your body panics trying to get that sugar out of your blood, because sugar in the blood is dangerous, like a fire in the house. Your body puts the fire out fast, but too fast, and the sugar drops too low, and your brain screams for more. That's why you can't stop. It's not about willpower, it's a trap. Sugar makes you want more sugar. And when this goes on for years, decades, your body gets tired of fighting the fire. It starts shutting the doors. Cells stop letting nutrition in. You eat and nothing gets through. That's why you're always hungry. That's why you're exhausted. That's why everything hurts. Your body's been telling you for years, and you thought you were just getting old. I lay there on that bed and things started making sense. Slowly. Like walking through a house and finally turning the lights on in rooms you forgot were there. My hunger wasn't my personality. My tiredness wasn't my age. My knees weren't arthritis. My belly wasn't from having 3 kids. It was one thing. The whole time it was one thing. I quit sugar that day. And look, I'm not going to pretend I was brave about it. The first 3 days were miserable. Headache, shaking hands, terrible mood. Catherine brought me soup and I screamed at her for closing the door too hard. Then I sat there alone, crying, and it wasn't even about the pain. It was about being 74 years old and yelling at my own daughter over a door. But I stuck with it. Water, real food, keep going. The doctor said, give it 3 days. Your body's switching fuels, like an old car that's been running on one kind of gas and suddenly you pour in something different. It sputters, it coughs, but then it catches. And then it runs better than it ever has. Day 4, I woke up and something was off. I lay there trying to figure out what it was. Then it hit me. I didn't want anything sweet. First time in 50 years. That voice in my head, the one that spent my whole life whispering, go on, just a bite, just a little one. It was just gone. Like somebody turned off a radio you'd been hearing so long you forgot it was on. I went to the kitchen, opened the cupboard, looked at the sugar bowl. Nothing. It was just a jar sitting there. I started crying, and I'm not entirely sure why. I think it was because I realised I'd spent 50 years being pushed around by a jar of white powder and never knew it. Week or so later, Catherine came by with Emily. She looked at me and said, Mum, your skirt's falling off you. She was right. The skirt that 6 months ago barely zipped was now loose. I didn't weigh myself, I don't really do that, but clothes tell the truth. What I found out later is that sugar makes your body hold on to water, not a little, a lot. You carry it for years thinking it's fat and it's just water your body can't release while you keep feeding it sugar. And the belly. The one Robert used to tease me about, the 4th kid. It was going down. Not fast, not in a week, but a month in I caught myself in the mirror and I could see my waist. I hadn't seen my waist in maybe 20 years. But then something happened that I wasn't ready for at all. October, Emily calls me. And her voice has that careful sound, like she's already apologising. Grandma, Oliver has a show at preschool. Apologising. It's on the 2nd floor. I know stairs are hard for you, but he really wants you there. That's what got me. The way she said it. Like she was used to me saying no. Like she'd already made peace with Grandma not coming. I said, I'll be there. I walked up to the 2nd floor. No stopping, no grabbing the railing, nobody waiting for me to catch my breath. Just walked up. Found the room, sat down on one of those tiny little chairs, and there was Oliver, my great-grandson, 2.5, standing on stage dressed as a carrot, head to toe in orange paper. He saw me and his face lit up, and he yelled, "Grandma!" right in the middle of everything, and the whole room laughed. I sat on that little chair and I was crying. Not the good kind, the angry kind. Because how many of these did I miss? How many times did Emily not even bother to call because she knew I couldn't make it up the stairs? How many times did I say, "Just send me the video, sweetheart," because of my knees? Those knees. The arthritis knees. They didn't hurt. I stood on that staircase after the show and I tried to remember the last time I took a painkiller. Couldn't. Went home, opened the cabinet. The pills were just sitting there with dust on them. All those years of pain, all that stiffness every morning. It was inflammation. From sugar. Take the sugar away and the inflammation goes with it. No cream, no pill, nothing I'd tried in 15 years did what those few weeks without sugar did. And I stood there and I thought about Robert. Last few years of his life, every morning was the same. Groaning out of bed, shuffling to the bathroom with one hand on the wall. I'd say, "Robert, go to the doctor." He'd say, "And what's the doctor going to tell me? Take more pills. I'm already taking pills." 3 spoons of sugar every morning. A handful of pills to handle what the sugar was doing to him. About a month in, Catherine came for dinner. We're sitting at the table and she says this thing that stopped me. Catherine came for dinner. She says, "Mum, you haven't yelled at anyone all night." And I just looked at her. She said, "Every dinner you used to snap at somebody. Me, Emily, James. Tonight you're just talking." She was right. That anxiety I'd carried around for years, that buzzing in my head that never stopped, it had gone quiet. I was sleeping through the night. Actually sleeping. Not lying awake at 3 in the morning with my brain going in circles. I was finishing books, reading them start to finish instead of giving up after a few pages because I couldn't hold a thought. I was actually listening when people talked instead of planning what to say next while they were still talking. My son James called that week. "Mum, Catherine says something's different with you. What's going on?" I said I quit sugar. He laughed. He thought I was making a joke. The doctor told me later that when your body stops running on sugar, it switches to burning fat instead. He explained some science about how this different fuel feeds the brain better. I didn't follow all of it, honestly. But what I understood was this. The brain calms down on this fuel. It works clearer. And this part I couldn't believe. He said the brain can actually grow new nerve cells. At 74. I'd always assumed that at my age, brain cells only go one direction. My head works better at 76 than it did at 65. That's just a fact. Then came the part I don't like talking about. Thanksgiving. Margaret's house, the whole family, and her cherry pie. She's been making that pie for 30 years. Same recipe every time. My favourite thing she bakes. She put a slice on my plate and said, "Dorothy, I made this for you. One little piece. One piece isn't going to hurt." I ate it. Not because I wanted it, because that pie is me and Margaret. 30 years of holidays, 30 years of friendship. Saying no to the pie felt like saying no to her. Next morning, my knees hurt. Just like before, like a switch got flipped. And the hunger came back hard. Like before. That old voice, more, more. One slice of pie and my body went right back to where it started. I called Catherine, told her I messed up. She was quiet for a second and said, "Mum, one piece of pie isn't the end. Just go back." So I went back. Next day, no sugar. 3 days later, the knees calmed down, the hunger went away. Everything settled. But that taught me something I think you need to hear. I'm going to mess up. I'm a person. My job isn't to be perfect about this. My job is to keep going back. Fall off, get back on. Forget, remember. Over and over. Not perfectly, just stubbornly. 6 months in, I went back for blood work. That same young doctor looks at the results, looks at me, looks at the results again. Liver's much better. Kidneys are normal. What are you doing? I stopped eating sugar. He nodded. Wasn't surprised at all. Like he knew this would happen. And that bothered me. He knew. From the beginning, he knew this would work. So why doesn't anyone say it sooner? Why do they start with pills instead of just telling you to stop eating sugar? But then I thought about it for real. If somebody told me this at 50, would I have listened? Number one, I'd have said, "Come on, doctor, everybody eats sugar. It's not that serious." I only listened when I was flat on my back in a hospital. Maybe somebody did tell Robert. Maybe he said the same thing I would have said. 3 spoons of sugar every day. It's been 2 years. I'm 76. I'm not going to tell you I feel 30. I feel 76. But I feel like 76, not like 90 the way I used to. I take the stairs without thinking. I sleep through the night. I don't snap at my daughter anymore. I finish books and remember them. Can't tell you the last time I bought a painkiller. My belly's not flat, but my waist is back. Blood works clean. My brain works. Yesterday, Oliver was tearing around the yard, hollering, "Gwammer, come on!" And I chased him. A little. Out of breath, laughing, holding my back. But I chased him. 2 years ago, I wouldn't go upstairs. And you know what I was thinking, running after that boy? Robert. How he would have loved this kid. How he'd have been faster than me. How he was only 69. That's not old. He should have had years. But he sat at that table every morning, stirring his tea, that quiet little clink against the rim. I can still hear it sometimes when I sit in the kitchen by myself. I don't blame the doctors. I don't blame Margaret and her pies. I don't blame my mother for teaching me to make jam. I blame myself. For not asking sooner, for not listening sooner, for setting a cup of tea with 3 spoons of sugar in front of Robert every morning and thinking that was taking care of him. That wasn't taking care of him. I just didn't know any better. Now I know, and I can't keep it to myself. You're sitting there thinking this is just some old woman with diabetes. This has nothing to do with you. It does. If you can't pass something sweet without taking a piece, it's already happening. If you crash after lunch and can barely stay awake, it's already happening. If you've got a gut you blame on age, it's already happening. If your joints ache in the morning, it's already happening. You just don't have the diagnosis yet. You don't need to overhaul your entire life. You need 3 days. 3 bad days where you want to quit. Drink water, eat real food, push through. On the 4th morning, you'll know. And when you slip, because you will, don't beat yourself up. Just go back. That's the whole thing. 2 weeks. Give yourself 14 days without sugar. Not to lose weight. Not for some number on a scale. Just to find out what your body is supposed to feel like when you stop hurting it. You'll be surprised. I'm 76. 74 years with sugar, 2 without. These last 2 years have been better than the 20 before them. What I regret isn't the 2 years without. It's the 74 with. And every spoon I put in Robert's cup.